Avi Loeb and Sean Kirkpatrick of AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, have released a scientific paper about UFOs. This is pretty huge. So let's talk about it. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media. Join me there. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I'd love to see you there. And of course, comment on the story as I'm going through it. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sean Kirkpatrick is the new director of AARO, which is the Pentagon's new UFO program. This is the culmination of a series of events kicked off by Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, and TTSA. And so hats off to those guys. But it all hinges on Sean Kirkpatrick and whether or not he is a truth teller and is going to be honest and upfront with the American people. And also if he's willing to look the phenomenon square in the eye and see it for what it is or what it might be, not necessarily what is the conventional explanation. Unfortunately, that seems to be where he's headed, and he has partnered with Avi Loeb. Now, I love Avi, and I'm so happy that he's on board with this. We have a Harvard scientist looking into UFOs and spearheading the Galileo project. I mean, it's awesome. He does seem to have a more conventional, nuts and bolts take on everything. And that is where this paper goes. So, I mean, I'm not going to read you the whole paper, but Joe Murgia has a few little excerpts we can go over, and I can read you a little bit from the paper. I'll just read you one bit that really stuck out to me. I mean, there's just... Well, they tend to look at things from from what conventional science and physics would extrapolate from what they would expect to see with an alien vehicle coming from another planet. They don't seem to take into consideration that this stuff is a lot weirder than simply nuts and bolts vehicles, some flying cars from another world. This stuff gets a lot weirder and a lot more interesting than that. And I'm so glad that it does. But because that has, really jump-started me in some really cool ways. But, okay, let's look at this. Below, we show that any supersonic motion by such devices through the Earth's atmosphere would inevitably be accompanied by bright optical emission and detectable characterization signatures. An object made of known matter with a frontal cross-section area A moving at supersonic speed v must create a bow shock, or is that a bow shock or a bow shock in the Earth's atmosphere and dissipate a mechanical power. And it goes on, but basically they're saying, well, if these craft work according to conventional physics, this is what should happen. And that's not necessarily what's going on, guys. I mean, these things are coming from elsewhere. These things are coming through portals and wormholes. I mean, there's at least a few videos showing just that. At the end of A Terror in the Sky, the excellent documentary that came out last year, we actually get to see a portal open up in the sky over the Catalina Islands, and ships coming through. It's some amazing footage. It really is. The Leak Project released a video just a few days ago showing in the first few seconds of it a ship coming through a wormhole. It's incredible. So, and some of the stuff is even harder to explain, coming from higher dimensions, seemingly. Alien abductees and contactees often will say that they are taken somewhere that feels like, in the words of Deep Prasad, a famous contactee, quantum computer guru, he says he was taken to a deeper level of reality. And that's the same sort of thing that Willie Strieber says and many others. So these are not necessarily working from physics that we understand. They may not be breaking the laws of physics as we understand them, but there do seem to be some wrinkles and some loopholes, and it's entirely possible that our physics just are lacking, and they probably are. But here's a few little snippets, a few excerpts. Planets can be identified from a distance as they transit their star or through direct imaging. Once an Earth-like planet is targeted, an interstellar device can plunge into its atmosphere. In principle, a multitude of tiny devices can be released from a mothership that passes near Earth. What would be the overarching purpose of the journey? In analogy with actual dandelion seeds, the probes could propagate the blueprint of the senders. As with biological seeds, the raw materials on the planet's surface could also be used by them as nutrients for self-replication or simply scientific exploration. It is important to note that given the timescales associated with the propulsion scheme discussed here, it is unreasonable to assert that the intention of any such probe launched in the far distant past has anything to do with the human species. More likely, and similar to NASA's missions, the goal would be scientific and exploratory in nature. Well, that's perfectly logical, and maybe that is some of what we're seeing. It's very, very possible, very likely. And some of them are probably space tourists or dimensional tourists. There's a lot of one-off cases that seem to indicate that that's a thing, where people will see, a type of alien that nobody else has ever seen, and that alien is never seen again, or being, perhaps I should say. But a lot of this is not so. They're coming here for us. I mean, they have a heavy involvement with humanity. Several different species, the Greys, the Pleiadians, potentially the Arcturians, and various other races. Especially the Greys are notably abducting people. There are other races that do that as well. But yeah, so the Greys have a heavy involvement in humanity. They aren't simply exploring new territory. They are abducting, according to the Roper poll and David Jacobs' later comments about the Roper poll. The beings seem to be abducting anywhere from 2% to 5% of the world's population. And that is ongoing all the time for generations. They are doing something. They have a massive project underway that they are engaging in, tweaking families over generations, changing family lines for some reason, changing humans, you could say, for some reason. So what is that reason? Well, they've given us a few different versions of that story. What they're doing, we don't know. Who knows what the truth is? But the point is they have a heavy engagement with humanity. They are not here on an exploratory mission mapping out new territory. So some of them have likely been here longer than we have and may have even contributed to the creation of the human race. So Avi Loeb and Sean Kirkpatrick are looking at this all wrong. I suspect that Sean Kirkpatrick has probably been read into some of the program. I don't know that. He could simply be a nuts and bolts guy and not somebody that's really studied this in any depth. So that's totally possible, and he's likely taking his orders from above. However, it is possible that he has been read into the program somewhat. Maybe he knows some stuff, that this is more weird and more anomalous than simply a flying car from another world, but that he is using Avi Loeb as a cover, that he is using Avi Loeb to say, hey, this is the conventional scientific approach, and this is what we're going to take, because Avi Loeb is who he is, and this is what you do, because this is science, with a capital S. So, that is kind of what I lean toward, is that Sean Kirkpatrick is using Avi Loeb to give, his lack of any disclosure and his obfuscation and his lies some veneer of scientific validity. That's what I'm thinking. But let me know what you guys think. And if you want to read the article, I will link to that. And you can read, Joe's excerpts from it. He has some great excerpts. The search for UAP and the characterization of UAP requires bounding the search plan with physics-based constraints and what we are searching for. So yes, again, they're trying to use existing physical constraints, physics as we understand it, to interpret and understand the phenomenon. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which way you swing, that's just not going to cut it. You're not going to get to the truth that way. You might get to a little bit of it, and it might help our understanding of physics in general and technology to approach it that way. But you're never going to get to the bottom of this looking at it from a conventional nuts and points point of view. But that is what they're doing, and let me know what you think. Is Sean Kirkpatrick using Avi Loeb as cover for his lies and obfuscation? Or does he really believe that stuff? Is he really on the Avi Loeb nuts and bolts plan? So let me know what you think. Please give this video a big thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Smash the likes, smash the subscribe and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on Facebook and Twitter. There's links below. I'd love to see you guys there. And please watch some of my other videos. Until next time, this is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.